So, the 2024 election is just around the corner. Are you excited to vote?
I am. It's always a big deal, and this year feels particularly important. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to vote. I've heard about voting in person, voting early, and voting by mail. What do you think is the best option?
It's tough, but the best thing you can do is to get your information from reliable sources, like the Associated Press or other reputable news organizations. And don't be afraid to question anything that seems suspicious. If you see something that doesn't seem right, report it to the appropriate authorities.
That's good advice. I'll definitely be more careful about where I get my information. I want to be an informed voter and make sure my voice is heard.
That's the spirit. It's important to be engaged and informed. And remember, even if you don't agree with the outcome of the election, it's important to respect the democratic process and accept the results. We all have a responsibility to uphold our democracy.
I agree. It's important to remember that we're all in this together. We need to work together to ensure a fair and peaceful election.
Exactly. We need to be respectful of each other and the process, and we need to be vigilant against any attempts to undermine our democracy. It's a fragile thing, and we need to protect it.
I'm glad we're having this conversation. It's important to talk about these issues and to be aware of the challenges we face. I feel more confident about voting now, and I'm ready to do my part to make sure the election is fair and accurate.
That's great to hear. I'm glad I could help. And remember, your vote matters. It's your voice in the democratic process. Make sure you use it wisely.
Thank you. I will. I'm going to go vote early and make sure my voice is heard.
Well, it really depends on your personal preference and schedule. Voting in person on election day is the traditional way, but it can get crowded and you might have to wait in line. Voting early in person is a good option if you want to avoid the crowds and make sure your vote is counted. And voting by mail is convenient, but you have to make sure you send your ballot in on time.
That's helpful. I think I'm leaning towards voting early in person. I'd like to avoid the potential for delays with the mail.
That's a good choice. It's definitely a more secure way to vote. But even with all the different options, there's always a chance for things to go wrong. I've read about potential glitches with voting machines, and there's always the risk of misinformation spreading online.
That's true. It's scary to think about how easily misinformation can spread. I'm worried about people trying to undermine the election results.
I understand your concern. It's important to be aware of the potential for problems, but it's also important to remember that election officials are working hard to ensure a fair and accurate election. They're trained to handle any issues that might arise.
That's reassuring, but I still feel like there's a lot of distrust in the system, especially after the 2020 election. It seems like people are more likely to believe conspiracy theories than facts.
You're right, there's a lot of distrust, and it's a real problem. It's important to remember that the vast majority of elections are conducted fairly and accurately. There have been some isolated cases of fraud, but they're extremely rare. The system is designed to be secure and transparent.
I hope you're right. I just want to make sure my vote counts and that the results are accurate. I'm not sure how to deal with all the misinformation out there.